I think I'm on. Let's see who's on tonight. Just checking to see who we can get hold of. I don't even know where to look on this new laptop because, oh, somebody's here. I can't even tell who it is. Okay. Oh, Danielle, you're up. Hi, darling. Okay, so, oh, I'm so excited. Is that Josie? I can't even see who's on. So I'm going to crack on anyway. This one, hang on, let's just dim this light. The overhead light's not, oh, I need Botox. Okay, so how you can think yourself sick, and how you can get out of it. So it's become very evident this week. I seem to have had a few clients whose thoughts are damaging their health terribly, like really badly. These are professional people who are very intelligent and beautiful and funny and successful, and a couple of them now have come up, you know, with panic attacks and anxiety, and I've been working with them over that. And one thing I noticed was the similarities from when I used to get sick all the time, because for about 25 years I used to get panic attacks and anxiety every single day, probably 2 migraines a week on average, and I would have about 5 panic attacks a day and chronic anxiety to the point where sometimes I would pass out from it or be curled up in a ball and not functioning. But what I've learned in the last couple of years is that you can think yourself into and out of anxiety. And also when you're in a state, when you get into a state like that, you can choose to submit to it, or you can choose to change it by taking action. Because when anxiety and panic happens, I know for me, I used to be fine, and then all of a sudden I would hear from somebody that I had had an unpleasant experience with, and that would trigger me, or I would smell a certain scent and that would trigger me, and I would also just worry about stuff happening, worry about, I guess, what might happen in the future, because I had made some choices that basically led, like in the past, that led to my now, in the past, led to my situation being constantly stressful. And what that does to your body, it releases a lot of stress hormones and adrenaline, and your organs aren't operating properly, your heart's thumping out of your chest, you feel sick, faint, completely overwhelmed. Like, it's a really horrible feeling, and it's difficult to describe to people who haven't had it before, you know, anxiety or panic attacks. And I think you can actually make yourself so sick once you start to, you know, feel unwell and get upset. You can make yourself sicker and sicker, because then you start to have anxiety about, well, what's going to happen now? Because when I have a panic attack or anxiety, I get sick, I get worried, I get headaches, I can't function, and then you start worrying about all the things that you're not going to be able to do because you're sick, and I'm not going to be able to sleep, and I can't function, I'm out of my routine, you know, I'm impacting the people around me, you know, maybe my kids or my partner, and this whole thing, like, you just get on a merry-go-round, like it's a big-ass snowball, and everything just gets enormous, and you just can't cope. So like I said, when you're in that state, you can choose to completely submit to it, let it take over you. You can cry, you can shut down, you can be a mess, crawl into bed, cancel all your appointments, don't go out, and just be a mess. Or you can choose to live. Some of the best tools that I learnt when I was studying NLP and timeline therapy, when I did my courses last year, after I did my health breakthrough, I've only had 1 panic attack since, and that was when someone very dear to me was in a very dangerous situation. So it was a really normal kind of panic attack. But to go from 3 or 4 or 5 a day and you know, horrible migraines to nothing has been extraordinary. So if you haven't had any coaching and you haven't had any timeline or NLP, there's definitely things that you can do to bring yourself out of it when you notice it coming on. I think one of the really important things you know, like panic attacks will generally happen when you're stressed about the possibility of something happening, or, you know, someone from your past, it might be an ex, or even stress with your kids or a job, you know, comes up and you just start to freak out about all the what ifs. Now, just remember, you've just gotten really sick and upset and you're fretting and distressed and frantic. Nobody's actually done anything to you. Like, nobody's physically harmed you, but your body is in flight response. Your body has just gone nuts. So prior to you feeling sick and distressed and upset and having a panic attack, you were fine. And you had a thought, and the thought produced the result. So thoughts produce things. So if a thought can produce such a violent physical reaction that is so debilitating and upsetting, then a thought can change that to a feeling of well-being. So the things that I learned to do, the very first thing that I learned to do was to tidy up things from your past. Because the things that cause you stress might have been, you might be having a panic attack about money. Okay, and you know, money's not everything, but it's right up there with oxygen, and it buys you food and it takes care of yourself and your family, and you know, you need it. We all need it. But if you have a messy past with money, you've made poor financial decisions, or you've got a lot of money going out and you're not in control of your money, you can allow yourself to be overwhelmed and not get that in control. So to tidy up things from the past when we're looking at finances is suck it up, get it all out on the table, have a look at what you owe, where it's coming from, what mistakes have you made in the past that have led you to the stage where you're in a state where you're worrying about money. It might be to cut back on some spending. It might be to consolidate some debt. It might be to not drink coffee anymore because that's saving you $30 a week, like all that sort of thing. It might be that you're holding on to a huge financial investment, but it's actually costing you your life. I was talking to a guy the other night who put 60 grand into a house because he really wanted to own a house. He put 60 grand in, and his mortgage is so high that he can like live in the house. He can't really furnish it, and his mortgage payments, like his whole wages are going to his mortgage payments, and he can eat. And he said to me, I've got to pay this house off for the next 30 years and I can't have a life between now and then. Like, what am I doing? So it's about maybe, you know, you can tidy up all the little things, but maybe reassess the big things too. So get some advice about that. Another way that you can tidy up the past so that you're not worried about stuff happening. A great example, if you're a gossiper. So if you love a healthy gossip about, not healthy, that no gossip's healthy. If you're talking about people to other people and all of a sudden it comes back and bites you, and that's happening frequently, stop doing it, because stress amongst friends and family, when you're talking about somebody to everybody else, it's going to come back on you. And that will cause a lot of stress as well, and anxiety. Also, if you've got anger issues and you're lashing out at people, that'll cause a lot of stress. Tidying up things from the past might be, you know, just squaring away old relationships, or calling somebody up and saying, hey, you know, we haven't spoken in a while and I'm really upset about how our friendship ended. Whatever it is, just tidy stuff up from the past, because that will stop you. It's like you've got a clean slate. Okay, you're eliminating things. So sit down and have a look at what's causing you stress and work out what you can do to tidy that up so that it's not something that you worry about anymore. And from right now, moving forward, make sure that every choice that you make fully supports you feeling great in the future. So that might mean, if you have financial worries, that you go to buy something and you think to yourself, do I really need this? Or if you're going to gossip with your friends, you just keep your mouth shut and go, right, is this going to serve me to gossip about other people when they're not here? It might be entertaining at the time, but is it going to cause trouble down the track, which is going to cause me to have trouble? Another way to make sure that every choice that you make will support what you're doing is with food. You know, some people have panic and anxiety over the amount of food that they've just eaten. So before it happens, stop and think and like, right, is this going to cause me stress in the future? if it's going to cause me stress in the future, there's your answer. You know, if you're looking at maybe, you know, sleeping with an ex, and you know that, you know, short-term gain is going to lead to long-term pain, maybe rethink that. There's so many things that you can do. And I think you've got to take 100% responsibility for the state that you're in at any given time. So the thoughts that you have will create your state. So you need to take responsibility for changing those thoughts. And I've said it before, it is as simple as walking around the house smiling, like really grinning, playing loud music in the car, bopping, like really belting out a tune at the top of your lungs. The other thing, like, is putting your arms in the air and running around the house, because what's the first thing that Usain Bolt does when he runs over the finish line? It's international, all different languages, they go, yay, like that. And then, so it's postural as well. So you're changing what's called your physiology. So you're smiling and you're, you know, dancing and carrying on like a pork chop. You cannot have, like, if you're really focusing on positive thoughts, you can't have a negative thought at the same time. So all you've got to do is bomb yourself with positive thoughts. But as I said, you know, action cures fear. So if you're afraid of something, fix it up or get help with it and take action. You know, think, how am I responsible for this? How can I stop this so that I'm not feeling it in the future? And if you need help, get it. So that's my little soapbox for tonight. If you know anybody in Newcastle, let them know that I will be there on Sunday, and I'm running my Connection Mastery workshop. And I'm really excited about this one. This is my favourite one because everyone else gets excited too when they're there. And I will be teaching you about your personality type and about love languages, and how the combination of the two is a real predictor of your behaviour and emotions. And it is so much fun to watch people in the audience have light bulb moments. And the really cool thing is that if they come with friends or family or colleagues, or if they're in an MLM group, they bring their team. It's so funny to watch people sort of give each other knowing looks, and it's like, that's why you behave the way you do, or that's why you upset me, or, you know, and this is how we can work better together. So that's the fun part. Anyhow, I've gone way over time. You guys have a wonderful night. If you've got any questions or you want any coaching, please get in touch with me, inbox me. And if you know of anyone in Newcastle, spread the word. It's going to be a great morning. Okay, love you. Bye.